You know what it is. That's right. It's time to talk money with your money nerd and financial coach. Now, tighten those purse strings and open those ears. It's the Money Talk with Tiff podcast.
Hey everyone, I am so excited because I have Ruthie Thee Truth on the line. Ruthie Thee Truth on the line, and she's one of my cousins. Y'all know how we do around here. But I wanted to have her on because she's the author of the Wheel of Life workbook, and she helps dads and grads with their financial situations. So, hey Ruthie, how are you?
Hello, Tiffany, and good morning to
Come
all
on,
of the
boys.
dads and grads. Yes, I had to pull it through, you know?
And it came right on through.
Hallelujah.
But I wanted to have you on because you focus on dads, which being in this space, I have not seen many people focusing on the fellas. And so I was like, let's have a conversation around what that looks like and how you help these dads and grads get their financial life in order. So to start, first of all, I can already imagine how difficult it might be for these dads to even reach out to you. So what are some things that you have seen be a roadblock or something that they say, oh, I almost didn't reach out to you because of this? What are some things that you've seen?
I'm so glad you asked that question because one thing I've noticed in doing this line of work, especially with the dads and even the male graduates that are not necessarily fathers, is that there are a lot of emotions that they go through internally, and they don't have a safe space, right? That they can that they can resort to. A lot of the times they don't want to tell women what they're going through financially because they have been trained and brought up that to with the belief system of that being equivalent to weakness. So they consider themselves, they've been taught that if they express themselves to women or if they communicate to women, it's like we are the enemy and we are only going to use these very emotional and vulnerable times in their life to break them down and make them feel like they are weak as a man because they are not in a position to provide and even to protect, because protection, it costs money to be able to sufficiently protect your family and your loved ones or your significant other, even if they're not a dad. So that is one unique quality that makes them ultimately reach out to me, even when they don't. Like, they'll actually tell me, like, yeah, exactly what you just said. Like, I almost didn't reach out to you. But they usually either hear me talk on a podcast similar to yours, or they tap into my Wheel of Life Wednesdays on my Instagram Live, and they just watch me interact with other people that tune in, and most importantly, they are able to feel led by my leadership of transparency when it comes to the mental health side of finance, because that is where I focus. So the starting point is always in your mind, because your mindset is so important. And I know you know this already, but for the listeners out there, money, the first numbers that you need to learn when it comes to money is on a scale of 1 to 10, how you are feeling about each of the 8 major categories in life that are both directly impacted by your mental health, both your mental health and your finances, which is what I have here in the Wheel of Life workbook. That's what I published.
And okay, it's because I'm like, oh, where do I want to go with this? And I want to go to, what are these 8 categories that people need to be rating themselves 1 through 10?
Yes. So the 8 major categories, because like I was telling somebody else, life is complicated enough. So I found a way to simplify it. So these 8 simple categories are health, right? Which is divided into subcategories: mental health and physical health. Somebody told me that. So I was like, okay, I got to add that in the dads and grads edition of the Wheel of Life workbook. So there's mental health / physical health. There's family, friends, fun or recreation, entertainment, whatever you want to call it, romance, their love life, personal growth, their career, and their education.
Mm, mm. Yes, I can definitely see how all of those can impact your finances and your emotional well-being. Okay, now that we got that out the way, because I was just curious, and I know my audience was too, let me back up a little bit, because on the social media end, you see all of these posts, and it's like, well, if a guy's not providing, and if he's not making over such and such, and it's so many posts I see on a daily basis about what guys need to be doing and how they need to be doing it. And so I can see why they would say, oh, this was, reaching out for help would be a struggle for them. So when you start working with someone, what is the first thing, other than rating themselves on those 8 things? What are some mental things, or even if someone's like, I don't know if I should reach out yet, what are some mental things that they should think about before or while they're reaching out?
Yes. So, as I stated, I don't know if I stated it, but I am the financial wellness coach and number one strategist for goal driven planning. So, one thing that I definitely, I tell them, because someone asked me, who is your ideal client? And I said, somebody that can tell me what their goals are in 5 seconds or less. Because at the end of the day, if a person doesn't know where they're going, they don't have a destination. What are we doing? And because a lot of times they know where they want to go, but sometimes people just don't ask them, like, do you know where you're going to? Like, there's that song too. And that also, like, I'm very, I don't know if you caught on to it, but I'm very musical. And so a lot of songs kind of like resonate. And that's another reason why I have like the Wheel of Life. If you noticed on the picture, it's like the racetrack. It's like a car. So Ruthie's Road to 800. That's my campaign to have a positive financial influence on at least 800 dads and grads in leadership position to help them thrive through their major life transitions. And like I'm all about having a destination. Like, this is a GPS. So, we on Ruthie's Road to 800. A lot of times they want to increase their credit score. So that's how I first started. Started out doing credit repair, and going to FinCon, I spoke with a representative with debt.com. Sorry. And he explained to me, like, you're not supposed to be charging to help somebody repair their credit, which I didn't know that at the time. But thank God for FinCon, because it allowed me to grow into who I am now. And now, it challenged me to take a deeper dive into why a person would have a low credit score, right? Or like, what is the problem? Like, what is the root cause of this issue? And so the root cause of it, I learned after doing research, was mental health. And so that's how this Ruthie Thee Truth, this mission evolved. The Dads and Grads Academy came to be. Dads and Grads podcast came to be. Like, it was born from that interaction with John. Shout out to John Noble of debt.com, just saying, I'm here for sponsorships whenever y'all ready.
I love that. Shoot your shot, because you never know. But
Shameless plug. Dads and Grads podcast,
But I want to dig into that a little bit, because I'm just thinking, like, with the dads and stuff out there, or dads and grads, let's just say the fellas out there, right?
Right.
With the fellas, they might want to impress, whoever they're with, or, maybe they're married in a relationship, and maybe the wife or the girlfriend is really pressuring them to have these funds and have this and do that. And so if someone's listening that's in that type of situation, what is the first thing they need to, like, walk through mentally in order to get things back on track?
Ooh, I love that question. That's like, ooh, that's what I like to call the onion question. There's so many different layers to
Mm-hmm.
unpack with that, right? So, um, you know, starting with so as far as relationships are concerned, period. Um, I always encourage the person to identify their non-negotiables, right? So a lot of times, let's face it, I've been there myself. I've been out of alignment with my ex-husband. I've been out of alignment with those thereafter. And a lot of people, like, we fall into this trap of social media and looking good for others and keeping up with the Joneses and whatnot, till we lose sight of the depth. Like, everything is very superficial in this day and age. And so I challenge the fellas to dig deeper, right? Like, even women, like, we know men are, well, I've been told by the men that men are visual creatures, right? So they don't really take the time out to kind of look deeper into the person, like who that woman really is. And if, I am very spiritual, and I don't want to say too, I'm religious too. I believe in God and I believe in the Bible, right? And I believe that God is my creator and God created Eve, right? And so the one, which was the woman, right, for the man, if Adam was supposed to do things by himself, he would not have, God would never have created Eve to help, to be that helper to him, right? So I tell the fellas, like, if you are with a woman that you feel is financially draining you, that there's something going on in you that you are what is it within you that's attracting her? Are you trauma bonding? Because I've been there, right? And if you are trauma bonding, let's get to the truth of where that trauma comes from. And usually it's because there is a love language, like the language, they're not speaking the same language, right? And it starts with love, right? And that God is love, like, love is an action word. So if you feel like this woman is pressuring you, that means you must be feeling like you're not loved. And if you're not loved, like, what is your love language? Most of them don't know. So they can go to the love language, 5 love languages. They can type it up on Google right now for free 99. That's always my language. That's the best part of what I do is providing people with free resources first, because I told them my prices are pricing and it's for a reason. Like, they will get, it's an investment. If you work with Ruthie Thee Truth, best believe it's an investment that you will get your return on within 8 weeks. And I've seen it in less than 8 weeks, but I tell people 8 weeks just to give that buffer, because I don't know all of what they're going through in life. And
or if they'll even listen.
yeah, well, those that, when they invest, oh no, when they put their money in, they listening. I mean, my price, that's why my price is what it is, because I was like, oh, so y'all gonna listen, y'all are coachable, like, that price makes them coachable. So I very rarely have an issue with that. The issue I do have is with them seeing the results happen in like 2 weeks, and they drop off and they crash and burn their finances, and then they're right back to the beginning all over again because they did not do the work.
Right.
So now I lead with all of the free resources for them to do the initial work. They got to know what when they come to Ruthie Thee Truth, you need to know what is your primary love language, because there's 5, and you need to show me your receipts that you did the work. You went on there, you know what your love language is. I give them usually the resource of the book, Adult Children of the Emotionally Immature Parents. That is a really good book that I suggest them, if they can't purchase it, they want to be frugal, whatever, I tell them buy it, because you're going to need it, and you're going to be taking notes throughout this whole journey of your life and your financial whatever, like that is a part of it. Your mental health as children, sometimes we are abused, sometimes we go through childhood trauma. Like, a lot of times, majority of men, they go through childhood trauma and they are groomed to suppress it. And they this is what I'm learning. They go through a lot of childhood trauma. And when a woman, when they choose a woman usually they are choosing a very verbally abusive woman or financially abusive woman. And they're doing that because it seems like that's all they know. And so, because they're not like, if their love language, for example, was words of affirmation, and their parents, their mother, which is the first woman in their life, never affirms to like their value, they don't ever know. So whatever they're told, those words are really sinking in deeper than anybody else whose love language is not words. Like, words mean a lot to them in acts of service. If they're never, if there is neglect in any of their love language, that is the starting point that they really need to identify. Like, okay, this is who I am, because they have to know who they are first. And that woman that they're with, they're either going, their purpose is to lead her. She is to help him, right? And so if that dynamic is not there, he's going to stay in debt, like, indefinitely, because everything is out of alignment, and that is the key to what I do, is to help them find alignment. And a lot of times they tell me, well, I don't know what to say to her or whatever. So one guy, I told him, because he wanted to know, like, oh, who are you? Like, what's this workbook? I said, this is a workbook to get your wife to submit to you, because he told me he was a husband, right? And that literally just, God told me to say that. And I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? I was like, well, but are you being the leader that she needs you to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, because he's like, yeah, I want to get this book. I'm pretty sure he bought the book. And, like, because that's the thing, like, men want us women to submit to them. They will not necessarily admit it, because they're taught, like, they have to take that wall down of just knowing that we are nurturers by nature. A woman should be. And if she's not, then she's going through some kind of traumatic, it's trauma, period. Like, if they're with a woman that is not nurturing to them, then that woman is going through some kind of traumatic experiences that either she was taught to suppress, or she just never went and sought counseling, therapy, whatever, to heal herself. Because hurt people are going to hurt people, and healed people are going to heal. They're just going to have a healing energy. So it's usually one or the other. And that's what I love about life. It's a balance. Good, bad, positive, negative, healed, traumatized. Like, is really very few gray areas when we're dealing with things of this nature. Like, like dealing with finances, right? You're either in the red or you're in the black. What's the gray area?
Exactly. And that's what's scary for people, because there is no gray area. It's either it's this or that. And then you have to confront it. And I just wanted to back up real quick and just not break it down, but just mention the 5 love languages, because I love that you brought that up. It's super important. So the 5 are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Highly recommend getting the book, or at least just taking the quiz, so you know where you fall with those, because a lot of times, like Ruthie's saying, we just speak in different languages. And until we get on the same page, it's going to be, it's just going to be a mess. And that's with any relationship. It doesn't even have to be romantic. It could be just friendship relationships, anything. It's really important that you know that information. And I'll make sure I have links to that, and also the book that she mentioned earlier and her book in the show notes as well, because she is dropping so many gems, and I'm over here needing to take notes my dang self. So that way, because like, this is good information, not just for men, but for women too. Like, we have to see both sides of what's going on in order to fully understand and be aware. Because like you said, men are usually groomed to not represent their feelings, not share their feelings. And so as women, we feel like we need to interpret how they feel, when a lot of times we're wrong. I'm just being real. A lot of times we're wrong. And so having that background information and knowing that the stuff that you were talking about, I feel could really help a lot of relationships here. And so we saving relationships over here on the Money Talk with Tiff podcast.
Listen, girl, and not only that, but let me tell y'all, if y'all don't have the right protection, y'all might have some more babies. I'm just gonna put the disclaimer out there, because once they start really learning the love language, girl, we're gonna have to help them budget for the baby.
And we here for it. So
We are all the way here for it. That's y'all. Listen, we gonna help y'all get to the bag,
But I don't want you to give it all away, because we've already covered a lot. And honestly, they just need to get the book. I feel like I need to get the book, and I'm not even the target demographic. But if people were interested in finding out more about you, your information, where could they find you?
Yes. So the easiest place to find me is on my website at www.ruthietheetruth.com. For the listeners, that's www.ruthietheetruth.com. And once that pops up, you have access to all of my social media links. So my Instagram, I'm primarily on Instagram with the Wheel of Life Wednesday. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. Did I say them all? Spotify. All of the above. All of the above. You just find me. You type in Ruthie Thee Truth on Google. You do a Google search, and you'll find it. And for the workbook, it is available on Amazon. However, I am rolling out a Dads and Grads edition that will include some additional like checklist and more activities that I did not include in the original version, because that was just like to get it out there. And there's a story actually even behind how I ended up creating this workbook, which was pretty much like a testimony of a father that I was interviewing, because when I first started podcasting, I didn't know that, asking questions, there was an art to asking questions. Mm-hmm. And I also didn't know how emotionally attached men are to their unborn child. And I know that's a whole nother topic. We could do a whole nother episode on that. But ultimately, there was a father that I interviewed, and the question that I asked him was, what were your life experiences like? I'm sorry. What was it like becoming a father? No, well, I forgot how exactly the question went, but it was like fatherhood. It was about fatherhood and the life transitions of fatherhood before, during, and after becoming a father for the very first time. And so the key word was the very first time. And one thing I didn't know was that his response was, for one, I didn't think his response was going to hit me the way it hit, but the response was that he suffered a miscarriage. Mm. And that thing hit me like a ton of bricks, girl. One, because I worked in the hospital. Like, he knew I worked in the hospital because, we local. And I used to work in labor and delivery. And it reminded me of how many patients I register. I was a registrar at that back before I started doing this full time. And I used to draw up the death certificates. You know what I'm saying? I used to draw up the paperwork for the mothers. I used to put the packets together, but there was nothing for the fathers. And I'm like I kind of felt guilty, because I'm like, dang, how did I miss that? And I was in the one place that they had to be during the most traumatic time in their life. And that's a very vulnerable feeling for the mother. We all know how vulnerable it is for the mothers, but it's equally, if not more, traumatic for the fathers, because now they still have to continue on with whatever they're doing as the leader that they are meant to be in that woman's life, in that family's life. And now the child that they done had a baby shower for, that they have these Pampers, they have to go home to see all of this. And like, that could mess you up. Like, he told me, he didn't record it. Hopefully I can get his recording if he's comfortable enough, because he has to be, publicly. I told him I'm on Spotify. And yeah, I felt so like, I don't even know what the word is. Like, I felt horrible because I'm like, damn, what can I do to help some, like a father specifically like that, like who's going through that emotional change and nobody is paying attention to him and how he's feeling about losing that child that he will never get to hold in his arms. At least the mother, she held that child in her body, but he would never get to hold that child in his arms. And yeah, Wheel of Life workbook, I'm like, this was my way to help him heal, and other men out there that don't talk about how they suffer from miscarriages. And but that's a whole nother topic, because it's a thing, and every time I mention it, men get very quiet.
And even me, I'm like, usually you can't shut me up, but I'm speechless because, you never think about stuff like that. Like, you just go on, and usually when the support comes around, it's usually for the woman. It's not usually for the man. And so, yeah, that's really deep. And y'all, I'll make sure I have all of these links and all this information in the show notes. So make sure you check that out. But I think we just gonna leave it there, because that is a deep story. And knowing that that is what's behind this book, y'all need to get it. So thank you so much, Ruthie, for coming on today. And I appreciate you sharing all of this insightful information and your story with my audience.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Tiff, for having me. It has been such a pleasure connecting with you this morning, and, just having the opportunity to share and hopefully have a positive financial impact on all the dads and grads that are listening to this episode. And grads are also women, by the way. So I want that part to be there, because a lot of times the men, there's always this men are from Mars, women from Venus thing. And they feel like, we're the enemy. Like, nah, bro, we're not, like, just because we graduated, just because we kind of had to level up, like, know that there's a connection. So that's another reason why, so it's layers to this thing, dads and grads. So it's really to have, to foster the togetherness. So yes, I appreciate
and
you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Right. But thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you for listening, joining, and being a part of the Money Talk with Tiff podcast this week. You can check Tiff out every Thursday for a new Money Talk podcast. But if you just can't wait until next week, you can listen to previous podcast episodes at moneytalkwitht.com or follow Tiff on all social media platforms at Money Talk with T. Until next time, spend wise by spending less than you make. A word to the money wise is always sufficient.